Welcome to the SA Digital Marketing Podcast. My name is Terence Mentor, and I'm a digital marketer who has realized that since the industry is constantly changing, we need to be constantly learning. And I think the best way to learn all those things is to talk to the people who are doing all of those things. And this podcast is a chance to do just that. For this first season of the SA Digital Marketing Podcast, I've interviewed 5 of South Africa's top digital marketers about their careers, what they think of the state of the industry right now, and most importantly, what advice they have for someone looking to improve their digital marketing skill sets. In this episode, the debate is on. What is more important, experience or education? Do you need to go through an expensive course or degree or diploma to become a professional digital marketer? Or is it just smarter to learn on the job? Our 5 experts each gave their thoughts, starting with Jono Duguid, who currently works at R17 Ventures as a growth acceleration specialist.
How do you feel the kind of formal education part of digital marketing meets up with the experiential part? Did you do any formal courses, and how does that interact with each other? Is one more important than each other?
You know, at the time, there weren't any proper courses around. We were all just learning through experimentation, because we were all like, there were a handful of us who were saying, this is the next big thing. I even remember it was probably about 2010, and I have it in one of my old email accounts. I reached out to Absa Bank saying, guys, I want to get you guys on digital. And I had a contact there that was really high up in the HR. And she said to me, Jono, the bank just doesn't see the future of digital. They think it's a
Very long-term visions, proper long-term vision there.
So that's what we were going up against. In those early days, I was going up against a lot of businesses that think, it's just a fad. The social media thing is going to die down. It's just a fad. Young people are on it. They're going to get over themselves. They're going to move on. And so that's kind of what we were up against. And so there weren't really any courses available. Soonish afterwards, there was a course called Quirk. It was done by the Quirk agency, and that now actually falls part of Red and Yellow. So Red and Yellow took over Quirk, and so if you go to their campus, you can actually see they've got like the old school Quirk stuff, which is really nice to see. But I think it means very little to a lot of young people. So Quirk had their course, but what I really loved about them was they were also about empowering, a lot like you're doing with this podcast. So they had this 700-page textbook that was made available for free for anybody. You could just download it. If you had the means to do the course, then you could do the course. But if you didn't have the means, at least you had the learning materials that you could learn it yourself. And so that was super awesome. So I did download it. I think I read through a little bit of it. But yeah, me and reading are not the best of friends, if we're perfectly honest. But yeah, otherwise, a lot of it was just learning as you go. And also going back to my first job, the marketing internship at the Baxter Theatre, I got the best piece of advice ever when I worked there. It came from my boss at the time, Fahim Stellenboom. And every time I moved job, he was always the first person to congratulate me. And I say, Fahim, this is because of you. I'm moving up because of this single piece of advice that you gave me, or 2 pieces. The first was giving me a chance, but the second piece was that advice. And the advice was, in everything you do, be a sponge. Absorb everything. If it's not your job description, doesn't matter. Just learn those skills, gain those extra skills that are going to help you in the future. And so I took that advice to heart. I absorbed every piece of knowledge I could, every kind of skill I could. And to me, that was a big part of it. But then again, it's also through also these tweet ups and these meeting up with other digital people where we were able to have these discussions. Then all of a sudden, digital started having courses. So after Quirk, there were a few other courses that started to exist. I don't want to name any of them because I'm probably going to make a lot of enemies, and I'd rather not have enemies. But I'll never forget, there was this event called Net Profit. Profit spelled Prophet. And it was these annual major events with top digital speakers that took place. And it was actually free of entry, at least for the first few years. They tried to monetize it later on, and it didn't quite work out. But, anyone who was anyone in digital was at Net Profit events. And I remember talking to the person that was heading the digital marketing course for one of South Africa's top universities and one of their online partners. And I was like, there's no hope. There is no hope for the future. People are going to be wasting their money on this course. I think it has gotten a lot better, having looked at the things through the years. I think probably the closest out of the colleges and things that I'm seeing that are delivering the best kind of talent is schools like Red and Yellow, where we as an agency are also invited, and we go and we do guest lectures there. So they're very open to agencies and to players in the space that are doing big things to come and actually educate the students on what they're doing and what the latest developments are in that field. So it doesn't remain so stagnant. And I think that model really, really works well, and they've managed to harness it quite well. I think IMM Stellenbosch also has a fair amount of that too. But generally speaking, I think that traditional university, if you're wanting to go into digital, might not be the thing. But I will also caveat on that. We've seen some of our best talent come from accounting students, BComs. And so they understand unit economics and they understand business. And when we're, as an agency, for us, it's about helping our clients increase their revenue and more importantly, increase their profitability. So understanding that is a skill that I think is often overlooked within the digital landscape. And so being able to have that and then be able to learn digital is also super important. I think you can go a long way by being able to understand the basic rules of business.
Next onto our debate floor is Michelle Marais, who is a marketing content manager.
So it sounds like from your story, there's a real mix of formal training, formal courses, formal learning, and experiential learning. It all started with HTML4. You mentioned that was what, like in the early 2000s, going for getting the HTML4 qualification. What made you do that, going from traditional marketing, which still exists? It's still a big part of most marketing budgets fall into a traditional marketing bucket. But you decided, wait a second, there's this HTML thing, this internet thing isn't going away. Why did you decide to do HTML4?
There were a couple of courses on offer at the time, but bear in mind that it was 2000. And back in the day, in terms of formal education, you couldn't even do a university degree with a marketing qualification. You had to go off and do an MBA later, but there still wasn't a marketing specialization. So in terms of experiential knowledge, let me just break it down for you very briefly. For a newcomer into the industry today, I still employ predominantly on a degree that's been achieved for a new person entering into the industry. There is a bias towards tertiary education in South Africa. And for somebody just leaving matric and attempting to step into a marketing role or an agency role, unless they're an intern or unpaid, the chances of them building a successful career is slim. It's not impossible, but it's slim. However, the converse of that, if somebody doesn't have a degree, but they have an interest in marketing or digital marketing, people like Red and Yellow who offer diplomas and other courses, there's a lot of value in that. It's just there is a benchmark against employing straight out of matric. Typically, there does have to be some kind of tertiary, and in the marketing environment specifically. In terms of experiential learning, a lot of value in experiential learning, and also a lot of value in doing courses through the company that you find yourself placed at. So if you are working for an agency and they've got a short course or a 2-day course on digital marketing, etc., constantly be learning, constantly be upskilling again, because the industry changes so quickly.
So that's actually one thing I was going to ask you about is the idea of getting a formal education, especially something as big and as expensive and as long as a degree, honors, even maybe a master's. With the industry changing so quickly, how fast do those qualifications become redundant? Like, because will they still be valuable after a year or two?
Yeah. To be honest with you, if you've done a degree 5 or 6 years ago and you haven't done further upskilling post that degree, you're already redundant in terms of your knowledge. You may have built up experience personally on the platforms, on the tools that you use, etc. But if you're just looking at the understanding of what you've learned in university, 6 years, you've missed the boat. 2 years, you've missed the boat. It changes that rapidly. Again, those short courses that you may do online for free, as well as paid options, and those courses that you do within a company context have far more value, because you're not just learning about digital in the now, but you're also learning how to apply it in your role. And that's something that I can't teach a newcomer. Either they are able to translate what they're learning into practical application, or they're not. If they are able to learn and then apply what they've learned in their work context, that has tremendous value.
Our next expert giving her thoughts is Alex Overmeyer, who is an international digital marketing consultant, and she started with some real classic advice.
What else have you done when it comes to digital marketing specifically, when it comes to courses? Did you do any kind of long or short courses? And compared to the experience that you gained at all of the businesses that you worked at and now working independently, how would you kind of balance those two when giving advice to maybe a younger person who wants to come into this world when it comes to education versus experience?
Education is important. Start over there, go to school, kids. But the experience, that's where I get most of my learnings from. So I've not myself been a very much theory kind of person. So I did go to University of South Africa and did correspondence studying with marketing for some time, but I didn't complete that. So at the time I was trying to fund my own studies and life and etc. happened. But that still got me into the space, opened up doors for me to start working in marketing as I was doing the correspondence studying. And over time, I started doing short courses. So I did one which is better for me, bite-sized information. Don't tell me 3 years, tell me 3 months. Great. I'm focused. So I did Get Smarter through UCT, which I do recommend in terms of it holds a lot of credibility. When people see that on your CV, on your portfolio, they think, ooh, fancy. So in terms of that, I get a lot out of that. But the problem I struggle with these courses is that our industry changes so often. We're getting constant updates on every platform, and things are just constantly changing, that those things that are in the course, if I look at my marketing degree, yes, it teaches you the high level overview, but what is actually relevant to what is happening in the industry right now? And so it's not teaching us those points, and those are really important as well to know. So for me, and I have an intern working with me, I send a bunch of short courses that are on HubSpot and on LinkedIn and on Google and on Facebook. Those are your more up-to-date courses that you can do that are for free. And so those are the kind of ones I will do to stay updated in the industry, and I recommend to people to do as well coming into this space. And in terms of experience, has taught me more than anything really, just doing the hands-on work. That's given me a lot of the knowledge I have now. Even in the self-employment space that I'm in, I'm actually learning faster and more than what I ever did working for a full-time company, because now working for a full-time company, you've kind of got your job spec set out for you, and that's where you are. But with the self-employment space and working on multiple clients, they each have, what they want you to do. And so now you've got to learn whatever website platform they're using or whatever CRM system. And so that's given me the opportunity to learn so much more, in this time.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in those situations, you kind of have to throw yourself in the deep end and learn to swim while you're drowning.
Exactly.
Sometimes is the only way to do it.
Exactly.
I mean, I just last year I finished a postgraduate diploma in digital marketing, thinking I'm going to be learning all of the newest things. I've been in the industry for a decade. This postgrad is going to be like the creme de la creme. And then the textbook they gave us was published 4 years ago. The social media textbook they gave us was published 4 years ago. When they still refer to Twitter as Twitter, not X, when they still say that like Instagram is this growing platform,
Yeah.
and you realize that in 4 years things change so rapidly that it's like I say, it's good to get education, but just remember that it can't stop once that diploma gets handed to you.
100%. And like I said, the diploma and the degree, I don't, I'm not bad mouthing in any way. I'm saying it's good to have, especially for the higher level marketing. If you see yourself as a brand manager, marketing manager, head of marketing, those kind of positions, if you want your career to progress in that way, you need to have that high level overview of marketing.
Senzo Madikani is a marketing manager, and he had some thoughts to add to this conversation. Where do you feel education fits into a career like ours, which is often, many people have said that, experience is what counts. You really got to get the experience. You got to get the miles behind you to really know what to do. But other people have said actually getting a grounding of an education is important. Where do you feel those courses and those kind of education fit in?
I think it's a 50-50, hey, Terence. Fundamentally, because we are creative individuals, I think it becomes very necessary for us to have the tools to know the parameters within which to play. And that is exactly what the education then gives us. We're all about creativity being intuitive, and that's great. But it can go either way if it's not grounded in something. So I think having the foundational aspects of marketing, of digital marketing, allows you to then be able to do many things, many exciting things. And also because things are forever changing, especially in digital marketing, you are then able to adapt accordingly, or else be able to keep atop and abreast of the changes. I mean, the 1 week Google algorithms may be doing one thing, and then the next week your photos are not being accepted on your Google My Business page, and you have no idea why.
Oh, why do they do this to us? It's like these platforms hate digital marketers.
Exactly. So every day it's something new, and you need to be able to, I guess, pivot from what the foundational aspects of the education then gives you, because you need to be able to see and make it fit, because it is a puzzle that's forever changing, unfortunately.
Are there some things that you would have learned during your time at varsity and at college that you still use today that actually haven't changed despite the evolution of digital marketing? I think
being able to think, and that's being able to think analytically and analyze data. Then that's probably the primary and fundamentals of university education for me, where it allows you to grasp the analytical side of the creativity. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we still are using Microsoft Excel, which is whether a good thing or a good thing, I cannot tell you. But thanks to varsity, we know how to use it.
And I guess the other thing, I mean, I know from my experience in studying at Vedeniello, the ability to research, one of the things you're saying is that things are always changing. The only way you know what the changes are is by knowing how to look for stuff, finding the right sources, knowing where to go for critical information. I guess that's also a skill set that these courses stick with you after a while.
100%. From the research aspect of it to critical thinking as well. I think these are very critical aspects that are necessary for the job. Because without critical thinking, you may be out here doing campaigns that seem good in your head, or you think they are, but unfortunately, the world thinks otherwise.
And we've seen this. I mean, I get this experience quite often where non-marketers, and especially non-digital marketers, they'll come to you with like what they think is just the best idea ever. But the moment you take 1 or 2 moments to really think it through, you realize, actually, no one's going to listen to that message. No one cares about that. It's like, yes, that's maybe something that you would like, but will that work for 100,000 people or 1 million people? I don't think so. And finally, Abby Kluter, who is a digital strategist at a NGO, spoke about how this is actually a really important topic for her right now. It started with getting a degree or getting your education at CPUT, getting that marketing, that formal education in marketing, which is a little bit more general and high level. And then you pivoted your growth became a little bit more independent, let's put it that way, where you followed your curiosity.
Yes.
How do you, for someone who maybe is thinking about starting this digital marketing journey, how would you advise them about getting formal education versus, doing the free Google courses or the free courses on LinkedIn and doing a little bit here and there? Do you think that formal education is very crucial?
I'm going to sound like a real boomer, but I do believe, I really do believe, because I find myself now in the space where I'm wanting to implement all these different systems, but I'm realizing I don't have the theoretical background of how this actually works, especially with analytics. Like, I'm finding I've done all the HubSpot free academy courses. I've done all those things, and I'm just like, there's something missing that I'm just not fully understanding. And I think that's going to come with the groundwork. So I think if ever you are considering doing marketing, look, I ended up doing marketing. Marketing was my second choice of study. I wanted to be a journalist because I really enjoyed writing. And my family at the time was just like, it's fine, but you talk a lot, so you need to be in marketing. Like, they wanted me to be in sales. They were like, you're a salesperson. You can sell anything to anybody. And I was like, oh, that sounds a bit like me. I'm sure I'll find my way in that scenario.
Well, aren't you glad that they told you that? Because the way journalism is going now, at least there's more work in marketing at the moment.
Such a blessing in disguise, I'm telling you. It is so weird.
So with that, you've mixed and matched your the grounding work that you have, and I'm really enjoying the honesty of actually there are some fundamentals that you need to have. You need to have a textbook tell you. You need to have a lecturer work through with you. You need to have someone support you with that.
Definitely, it really does help, whether that's in the form of like a mentor or a lecturer. Like, it's such a daunting thing to find somebody that is going to like give up their time, like you've said in the beginning, because you always think like, I'm this little person that like doesn't know anything, and I'm like, I'm asking you for help, I'm on my knees. But like, it's not always like that.
Try starting a podcast. You're going to be asking a lot of people for help all the time.
I can only imagine.
So that is interesting. Would you be in a space where you would like consider going back and getting that formal education, doing a further degree?
Actually, I am actually considering that right now. I was looking at doing, because I've got my Bachelor of Technology through CPUT, and I'm thinking the next step logically would be honors. And I think if an honors in digital marketing, or even a diploma in digital marketing, and just the technical bits is what I'm really, really chasing right now, to really understand on like a whole level, and not just a little bit. So that's definitely what I'm looking at, just because I can see the gaps where I kind of have, not the gaps, but like where I need to do more work, and that I'm just not like, I just don't get it. And I'm spending all this time like looking at YouTube, and I'm like, okay, after a while, YouTube starts telling you the same things, and you don't find your videos anymore, and then okay, I'm stuck now.
And you almost don't know what you don't know, and that's when you need someone to come say, here's the things that you actually do need to know that you haven't even thought about sometimes.
Exactly.
And you can build off that.
Exactly. 100%.
A big thank you to Jono, Michelle, Alex, Senzo, and Abby for their insights, and a huge thank you to you for listening to this episode of the SA Digital Marketing Podcast. Remember, in each episode, we'll tackle a question that you might have if you're thinking of moving on in your career in digital marketing. If you're listening on Spotify, please leave a comment in the app and I'll respond to you there. Otherwise, you can send your thoughts, opinions, and questions to podcast@tmdigital.co.za. That's T for Tango, M for Mother, digital.co.za. And of course, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. Thanks so much. This was the SA Digital